Texas, we have been watching as they have sent vehicles in to ram holes in the compound and send tear gas in. CNN's Bonnie Anderson joins us now here in Atlanta. Bonnie, were there any indications that this D-Day was coming? In other words, that this would be a certain date after which they had not surrendered, that the FBI agents would move in?
Well, what I can say is that for quite some time, federal officials have been ready to go, and we know of at least 2 other occasions where the day was set with absolute certainty. The last time was last Wednesday. All federal officials, all federal agents on the ground were put on full alert. They were told to come in. The rotation of shifts stopped, and at the last minute, the raid was canceled. We are told that officials in Waco simply did not have the go-ahead from Washington and specifically from the White House.
And obviously something happened that changed that, where they were able to get that go-ahead for today.
I think part of it could also be that everyone was expecting, with the amount of patience that has been shown by the FBI, everyone was expecting that FBI would now wait until David Koresh finished his manuscript. Well, if you remember, what went wrong on the original raid on February 28th was that the ATF, the agents from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, lost the element of surprise. David Koresh had been tipped off, and so when the agents arrived, they were literally ambushed. So with everyone expecting the federal agents to wait for another week or 2, this would be, a prime time to go in. They would certainly have that element of surprise.
And yet that would jibe with the tone of the news conferences that they've been giving daily for the last couple of weeks. It seems to have gotten increasingly tense, and the agents who seem to show a great deal of patience in the beginning seem to hint toward the build-up to this, that they were losing their patience.
They have been saying over the past few days our patience is not inexhaustible, but by the same token they also say we're not frustrated. We're running the show here. We're allowing him to do what he needs to do, that meaning being David Koresh. But they also, they would get angry at times. The tone of the press conferences changed almost on a day-to-day basis. They would get extremely angry. They'd say, he's lying to us. 3 days ago, 4 days ago, Special Agent Bob Ricks, indeed, went through a whole litany of examples of times David Koresh has said one thing and then done another.
Thank you, Bonnie Anderson, for keeping us posted on the latest. Again, those camera shots are so shaky because the cameras are so far away and they have to zoom in so much to get the shot that any little bit of wind that blows really knocks them around. Let's go to Reed.
Now we're in Waco, Texas. This is the live scene where the FBI has been using some combat equipment in order to punch holes in the compound and introduce tear gas.
Do you hear that Johnson said he didn't want to?
As we see, one of the armored vehicles, tank-like, is now moving back away from the building, having made an assault on it. And we'll continue our live coverage of this and other news in just a moment.
She's already hit the mean streets of Washington to calm residents terrorized by crime. Now, U.S. Attorney General Janet Reno sits down for her first extended interview. Meet her on Larry King Live tonight, 9 Eastern.
Federal authorities put some muscle behind their words today outside Waco, Texas, but David Koresh and his followers are still holed up as they have been for the past 51 days. A short time ago, a spokesman for the FBI discussed the complexity of this compound, including potential escape routes.
We have had a number of intelligence reports that they do have an underground tunneling system. There's no doubt about that. Some of those have been greatly exaggerated. Primarily, we believe they have crawl space. In the area right here, they have buried a bus, which I think most people know about. This is also a series of underground tunnels in this area. We believe many of those, however, are non-functional. Many of those areas, because of the recent rains, have been flooded out. Information is that they've been dumping a lot of their human waste in that particular area, too. We believe that there probably is crawl space underneath the compound, but gas will permeate those areas as well. So again, we're not anticipating they're all going to flow out at any second right now, but we will continue to apply the pressure. We will try to make their living environment as uncomfortable as possible.
And so the FBI says it plans to continue the tactic of continuing to put vehicles in the building and putting tear gas inside. Reed? Of course, we will continue our coverage near Waco, Texas throughout the day here on CNN. I'm Cheryl Atkinson at the CNN Center in Atlanta.
And I'm Reed Collins in Washington. Sonia Live is next, and here she is with a look at what's coming our way. Sonia.
Thank you, Reed. It's changed from a standoff to a showdown in Waco, Texas. Why and why today? Day 51, the latest from Waco next on Sonia Live.
Pardon me? 2 minutes, please. To our generic live show. How many minutes? 3.
The FBI says only bullets have answered the tear gas barrage. CNN Mike Capps reports from he is near the media site, near the compound. And Mike, you are about a mile and a half away, and that picture is shaky, still shaky because of the winds. Is that right?
Yes, Sonia. It's very, very windy out here. Wind gusts up to 35 to 40 miles an hour. It's extremely windy on this central Texas prairie. What we're seeing is an M60 combat engineering vehicle. It's been injecting tear gas. It's also rammed straight into what you're seeing there is the front door to the Branch Davidian compound, and look at it. It's going right into the front door. We've seen it go in that way. We've seen it turn around. It has a huge shovel on it. It just augers into that building and scoops up whatever is in the way, pulls out, dumps the load, comes back, and apparently it's shooting tear gas right now. And we'll see it move out in just a matter of moments. And it's been doing that for the last 20, 25 minutes just in that one spot. That is the front door to the compound.
Now, Mike, the FBI says that Koresh and his people were expecting this all along. What kind of evidence do they have for making that statement?
I just think that there's a high level of paranoia on Mr. Koresh's part. You know, since 1985, he's been planning a battle like this just to prove that his apocalyptic views on religion are correct.
On the other hand, one might say that he might have deliberately prolonged things so that this would be the natural result of everything that was going on.
I think there's a valid argument that way also, Sonia. You know, he told everyone last week that he was now going to decipher the 7 seals from the book of Revelation and put his spin on it and publish that in a manuscript form, or at least write it out in a manuscript form. And the FBI at that point said they'd wait him out. But apparently, listening to the news conference today with Special Agent in Charge Bob Ricks, there's no evidence that he's made much progress at all. He's finished the first seal, but it hasn't been edited yet. So I just think the frustration factor.
I'd like to make a statement here. We have the transcripts of the first 6 seals. He had made progress.
If you will, the had it factor was there, and this is the result of that.
You know, you brought up the 7 seals, and I want to go to CNN's Bonnie Anderson about that. She has covered this story from the very beginning and has become something of an expert on Branch Davidian beliefs. Bonnie, let me ask you about the 7 seals. We continue to hear about this. What is it that we're talking about?
The 7 seals are in the book of Revelations, and what I might say right off the top is that this is perhaps the most mysterious book of the Bible. I've spoken with a number of theologians. I have read a number of interpreters' Bibles, articles written by experts in the field, and it is very much open to interpretation. This is the part of the Bible, though, that David Koresh has seized upon to say that he can explain it. And according to the book of Revelations, early chapters, whoever can explain it, whoever can teach this 7 seals is indeed the Lamb of God, i.e. is Jesus Christ, and that is what David Koresh claims to be. The 7 seals are, if you could imagine, a scroll in ancient times was sealed with wax seals or some sort of seal of that sort. It would then be opened, the first seal, a piece of the scroll would be unfurled, and on that scroll would be a series of prophecies. Once those prophecies came true, then you would go to the second seal. What David Koresh claims he has done is to open up to the fifth seal, past the fifth seal, that indeed all of the events that are taking place today, that have taken place over the past couple of months, are all events prophesied in that part of the book of Revelations. He has said from the very beginning that he was expecting some sort of assault like this. And FBI agent Bob Ricks and the others in the press conferences over the past few weeks have said that they would not go in with force because that would, in effect, be fulfilling one of David Koresh's prophecies and would make his believers, anyone who might be wavering inside, would then say, this must be Jesus Christ, this must be true because David said it would happen.
Bonnie, earlier today you had an opportunity to speak with David Koresh's mother. Could you tell us a little bit about that interview?
She said right off the bat that she is extremely afraid. She is afraid for her son. She's afraid for the children in the compound. And a point that she made is that we've been using a number of 17 as the number of children inside the compound. Now, these are figures and statistics provided to the FBI by David Koresh. According to members of the religious community who are now in jail, people I've spoken with, and according also to David Koresh's mother, they consider children to be anybody under 10 years old. And so anyone over 10 is not considered a child and therefore is not counted in that 17 figure. If you were to include teenagers, it would be more like 25 under the age of 18.
Bonnie, as you spoke with her, did you have any belief that she felt that her son, in fact, had the ability to translate or interpret these seven seals, that he was someone who, the Lamb of God, I think is the expression you used?
What she did say is that she believes in her son, but if she were a follower, she would be there with him. Let's listen to what she had to say.
Interesting, though, you have now added another catch-22 to this, and that is that if we could, I believe that you have a tape that we can see of that interview. May we see that?
Yeah, this is when Bonnie Haldeman was saying that she was very concerned about the children.
All along they have said that they would not do anything drastic, that they would let him write his book, and he said when he got through writing the seven seals, he would come out, which I figured would take a couple of weeks. And I was really surprised when I was watching the TV this morning and saw what was happening. And it scares me because those are not bad people in there.
Your son, however, though, also told federal authorities on March 2nd that as soon as a 58-minute tape speech of his was indeed aired on national radio and television, he would come out, and he didn't. And there have been other promises he's made that he has not kept. What made you believe, what led you to believe that this time he would indeed come out, would indeed surrender with his followers?
Well, he told Mr. DeGuerin that, and Mr. DeGuerin had faith that he was, and all I could do is believe because, you know, all I know is what the rest of y'all hear, hoping and believing that that's what he would do.
According to what your son has told FBI officials and negotiators, he was indeed wounded in the side and in the hand during the original raid. What kind of condition do you believe he's in now? Have they given you any additional information?
I haven't had any information. I have no idea. All I've gotten is what I hear on the radio and in the paper.
We need to check out
That was Bonnie Anderson, who now in Atlanta. That was a previous discussion that she had with the mother of David Koresh. Let's go now to Robert Klotz. Robert used to be in special operations for the D.C. Police. He ran the helicopter squad, the bomb squad, and the presidential security unit. Mr. Klotz, I'm interested. We're going to stop for a moment as we go back to Bonnie Anderson in Atlanta.
As you can see on your screen, there is a great deal of smoke coming out of the building. Let's go to Mike Capps. We can also see some flames there now. Mike, what can you tell us? What can you see?
Bonnie, for the last 15 minutes, we've watched this M60 vehicle, this combat engineering vehicle, make large holes in the side of this building and pump tear gas in there. At times, as you well know, tear gas can be incendiary, and apparently this is what's happened. and it looks like now we have a very large-scale fire breaking out on what must be the south side, right near the front side of this building. These are some amazing pictures here. A fire has broken out, and let's just stay with this and watch it for a few minutes if we can. As I said, this combat engineering vehicle has been working very diligently around the front door of the complex, and first he'd take his shovel in and scoop something out, then he'd turn around with a turret and pump tear gas in, and
Mike, it appears that this is the portion of the building that is on fire right now is part of an observation tower that is adjacent to the front door. It's also on the second floor, which is where the women's sleeping quarters are. Did you see on the other side around the other side of this building whether or not tear gas had been put in at that level?
No, I didn't, but Bob Ricks indicated that in the news conference, Bonnie, that they'd put tear gas all over the building. What that means is anybody's guess. This is a roaring fire here. And I don't know if there are any fire trucks even. I haven't seen any fire trucks come up. I don't know if there are any fire trucks at the compound even. So this fire is really burning out of control here.
Well, and we also have to remind viewers that water has been turned off. The water pump does not work at the facility. It has been disabled by the FBI about the second week of this raid.
Now, and also remember, we've had 35 to 40 mile an hour winds, and this fire is racing out of control. Black smoke would indicate some sort of perhaps tar on the roof or oil. Perhaps something burning there.
Another thing to remember is the room that FBI agents believe held the weapons cache is right in that general vicinity. So there could be the danger.
Right, we're talking about the opportunity of explosives going off at any moment, I suspect.
FBI agents have told us on several occasions that the cult was armed with grenades. They had rocket-propelled grenades, they had hand grenades, and other explosives. Indeed, that was part of the original search and arrest warrant. So it would...
This fire is really rolling now. I don't see from that vantage point any effort on anybody's part to bring a fire truck up there, if in fact there is one here. I've not seen one come by all morning.
Now, a number of the people inside have relatives outside who have been trying to reach them for quite some time and have been allowed to send messages in.
Bonnie,
I understand someone is with you now.
On the phone with us right now is Belinda Gannon. She is the mother of one of Koresh's followers still holding out against the FBI siege. Now, you recognize, of course, that this is a very dramatic moment. Wouldn't this be a wonderful moment for your son to walk out? Do you think he is free to walk out at this moment, Mrs. Gannon? Belinda Gannon, can you hear me? Mrs. Gannon? We've lost Belinda Gannon. We're going to go back to Bonnie Anderson in Atlanta. Bonnie?
Sonia, one of the things that that comes to mind when I see this is a comment made to me 2-3 weeks ago by one of the members who is now in jail at McLennan County Jail. And in fact, in one of our reports, he said that should the FBI enter the compound, they would see an explosion unlike anything ever seen before, and those were his words. When I asked him and I pressed him on this, he continued to say that he thought it would be from heaven, but he did not discount the possibility that there would be some sort of explosion from the compound itself. Mike, I can see that the flame is...
This is in the observation tower, Bonnie. This is where all the messages were hung on the sheets, if you'll remember, and it's completely engulfed in flames, it appears now. The whole south side of the building is going up in flames literally before our eyes here.
I think we also need to bear in mind that from the very beginning, David Koresh has made it very clear that he was not going to come out and that he was prepared. In fact, we've heard him say this on some of the recorded negotiation sessions with FBI agents that were replayed time and time again over the loudspeakers. He said that he was prepared to die. We don't see anybody coming out of the compound yet, and there has been the concern from the part of the FBI that perhaps some of the members would simply not leave if indeed the tear gas was used as we've seen it has been used. Correct.
And as you point out, David has said time and again that he would not come out, and we still do not see any sort of firefighting equipment out there. So apparently the strategy is to let this thing burn.
Well, and again, among the weapons that are inside the compound, and this comes from the search warrant, are 50 caliber weapons, there are hand grenades, there are a number of different type of concussion grenades. Indeed, some of the agents who were killed and wounded on February 28th, indeed, were injured by some sort of explosive device. The FBI also believes that Koresh, over the last year or two, had started stockpiling explosives and different devices so that they could build their own explosives. So clearly, that may have added to this fire spreading so quickly.
If I could ask our engineers to switch to the camera that we refer to as farm cam, if that's possible, so we can see if the north side of this building has caught fire yet, if that's a possibility. Can we change shots on that now, or we want to stay with this shot? Well, it's bound to spread. It looks like the whole building is now involved, Bonnie. And this brings up the points that Bob Ricks made in the news conference regarding the structure of the building. Not thought to be structurally sound, and that's proving to be the case here as this fire just completely roars through this building.
Mike, on the phone right now, we have David Jewell, whose ex-wife is in the compound. Mr. Jewell's daughter recently left the compound as well. Mr. Jewell, what are your thoughts now as you see this?
I was certainly not prepared for this when I came on the phone to do an interview with CNN. I'm sitting here watching, listening over the telephone and watching the pictures on television, and I'm very, very glad that my daughter is not at home seeing this right now.
Your daughter had a number of stories to report about her training.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
Well, she was taught to commit suicide, actually, by Vernon Howell, now known as David Koresh, and other members of the compound. They were taught very specifically methods that were better than others. For instance, putting the gun inside your mouth as opposed to beside your head, because there was a chance you might survive if you took a shot in the side of the head.
You have spoken with David Koresh, I believe, for 20 minutes on a phone call, and
yes, on at least one occasion.
What kind of impression did he leave with you? I understand that you could sense the power that he has over people, and do you think that power is being used against them now to remain inside?
I believe that those who are inside, as I heard someone else say a few minutes ago, these are not bad people. That may be true. I believe that they were simply terminally misled. They were put on a course from which there was no reversing. And as I'm seeing now, the roofs caving in on the buildings, I'm inclined to think that, particularly with Bob Rick's statements this morning, that the tear gas that was being used was a non-pyrotechnic type. My understanding of that would mean that it's a non-flammable type of tear gas, that probably what we're seeing is basically, you might call it the pushing of a self-destruct button. The way that I saw this fire develop, I'm inclined to think that it was designed.
Mr. Jewell, thank you very much for talking with us. Also on the phone with us is Belinda Ganem. You have a child inside the compound right now. Your thoughts as you're watching this? Mrs. Ganem, are you with us? Well, as you can see, the parts of the building have collapsed. The fire has indeed engulfed the vast majority of this compound that has been the
Bonnie,
site.
the entire roof is gone.
The entire roof is gone. Mike, what else can you tell us? Any sign of firefighting equipment? I know.
No, none whatsoever. And there's our shot from, you'll remember, Bonnie, what we refer to as farm cam. That's looking from the north side into the compound. Apparently the north side is not involved yet, but it appears the rest of the compound is filled with that orange fire and acrid black smoke.
Also, within the past 10 days, past week, federal authorities surrounded the compound, very close to the compound, with razor-sharp concertina wire to prevent people from running out. That may, in this case, prove to be hazardous.
Still no sign of anyone coming out, Bonnie.
Mike, at this point, the latest figures we have is that there are 95 people inside, of them 17 below the age of 10, a total of 25 below the age of 18. Now, with us on the phone is a member of the Branch Davidians speaking from prison. Go ahead.
Is this Brad Branch?
Yes.
Mr. Branch, what have you heard about what has happened, and was this something that was predicted by David? Is this a plan?
This is a systematic character assassination by the FBI to eliminate all of the crime scene. Now they're finishing off the job right now. They're destroying the crime scene. America, this is the biggest lie that's ever been put before the American public, ever. Bill Clinton wants to use a scapegoat like the Attorney General. You know, I don't buy it.
Mr. Branch, was there no plan? All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Branch, for joining us. Now, as you
Bonnie,
can see... Yes, Dave. Yes,
Bonnie, let me interrupt you just for a second. Off to the right side of the screen, you can see 3 or 4 people. Apparently, it looks like federal agents out there beside the building. Now, whether they have any of the cultists with them, it's hard to tell from this vantage point, but it appears there is some movement, some people outside of the burning portion of the compound.
You're right, and they are dressed in the black SWAT outfits that are used by the FBI officials. We now have a closer shot of it. It is very difficult to see what they are doing.
And once again, let's point out that the pictures are shaky because it is very, very windy, and we have to remain on a tight shot to get these pictures as close as we can. And the wind just plays havoc with our camera position.
Now, Mike, on the phone with us is R.G. Wilson of the Waco Fire Department. Sir, do you have fire trucks on the way to the scene now?
Yes, we do. We have 2 units that were requested by the FBI probably about 5 minutes ago or 6, and they're en route now.
Were you given any type of heads up or any type of warning that something like this might happen? Were you on standby at all?
No, not today. We have been in the past, but we weren't today of any type. We had been in contact with the FBI and ATF, and they were to follow normal procedures and use 911 to get a hold of us.
Have you been seeing pictures of the compound? And if so, at what point can you still make a difference in terms of putting out this fire and saving any of the building?
Well, the biggest problem there is there's no municipal water supply there. The compound is out in the country. They use wells. Our equipment hooks up to fire plugs, and just like they do in all the municipalities around, our engines do not have the capability to draft water. Therefore, we have contacted a satellite community, Bell Mead, and they're sending 1 or 2 units that do have the capability to draft water out of stock tanks, swimming pools, whatever the case may be. But right now, there's no difference. There's no way you can do anything with that building right now.
Well, and the building right now is about 7-8 miles outside of Waco.
Right.
When do you think your units will get on the scene?
They'll probably have about a 8 to 10 minute to 12 minute ETA.
From now, or from 2 minutes ago when you sent them off?
Yeah, probably from about 3 minutes ago.